Hi, I'm Jason Gorber from ThatShelf.com, and we're here to talk about Judas and the Black Messiah, playing at the 2021 Sundance International Film Festival.
Shelf.
So Judas and the Black Messiah is a remarkable film. It's produced by Ryan Coogler, who many people know from Black Panther, but obviously has done some exceptional films outside of the Marvel realm. The cast is incredible. It has Lakeith Stanfield plays a William O'Neill, who is a car thief who becomes sort of wrapped up with an FBI surveillance on Fred Hampton, played by Daniel Kaluuya. Fred Hampton was a local leader of the Black Panthers in Chicago and became the focus of the FBI and J. Edgar Hoover's FBI at a time where Black revolutionary activity was absolutely being equated with the likes of urban terrorists like the KKK. And there was a great deal of concern within the FBI that these Black leaders would take it upon themselves to overthrow a system. They were certainly anti-capitalist, they were anti-Vietnam, they were anti-establishment, and as such, they became a real danger. Jesse Plemons plays this FBI liaison, but it's Dominique Fishback who plays Deborah Johnson, who ends up being the partner of Kaluuya's character, who's frankly a revelation in this film. She's so fantastic in it, so charismatic, so caring without being overly, for lack of a better word, soft. It's a real engaging character. Now, the way that it plays out, it is as a nonfiction historical epic narrative. It is a studio film. It's done by Warner Brothers. And if there's one sort of caveat about it, it's clear that in order to make some of these characters more sympathetic, they had to make the other characters completely non-sympathetic. When it's great, you get a sense of the ambivalence of everything taking place here. Obviously, it's there in the title, who's the Judas and who's the Messiah. But what's always fascinating to me is when you get more fundamentally the motivations of a Judas. That again, the biblical Judas, I always go back as obnoxiously as it is to something like Jesus Christ Superstar, but you can go to Last Temptation of Christ, you can go to Pasolini, these interesting takes where you believed, you understood why it was that somebody was selling out the people that they were selling out. It was being done not simply for greed, not simply for those 30 pieces of silver, but there's additional motivation. Here it's a little bit more complicated, but more than that, the establishment, as it were, is drawn in a really two-dimensional way. Now, I am not critiquing that. I believe that that is absolutely the way that everybody sort of within the film would see it. But it makes somebody like Hoover less sort of scary or threatening and more comic book villainy. And for me, as somebody who appreciates the nuance in all this, taking nothing away but the horror and the actual actions that resulted in such catastrophic events, that it would have been more interesting if it was a little bit less snarly, for lack of a better word, if it was a little less like a Western, that this is the irredeemable bad guys and these are the guys that are that despite everything that they're doing are clearly on the right of good. There's so much more at play there, even when you have people being killed by members of the Panthers. They're shot like stormtroopers in a sci-fi film, or just regular. There's no sense about what's at play. I go to a film like Sicario, which again a lot of people had issues with, but it does a really excellent job of showing that the situation is horrifying and super complex and complicated and morally much more ambiguous than I think is regularly portrayed. All of that being said, that's what I might have liked a little bit more from the film. What I did get from the film is extraordinary. You have fantastic performances. Look, again, I bring up Sicario because Daniel's in it, and he's so good. But Kaluuya is just a storm in this film. Absolutely captivating in his portrayal of, again, somebody much more iconic, like has become almost a myth within a particular community, and frankly forgotten for the vast majority. He was killed when very young. They were effective. They silenced his voice, and in so doing so, allowed an entire generation to lack this sense of leadership. This film does an incredible job not only resuscitating some of his views and some of his the power of his oratory, but also engaging modern audiences, especially given everything that's going on within contemporary American society, what's going on in Chicago right now, with everything that's the relationship between the police, the relationship with government, all of that stuff plays out. You also have this, again, I think, pretty remarkable character who sees a way of not only selling out his own community, but doing so for pretty, for lack of a word, self-aggrandizing reasons. It's an interesting turn, and I think Lakeith Stanfield is so phenomenal in this film. I think Daniel Kaluuya will get all of the attention, and rightly so. But I'm always captivated by these performers that can make everyone around them just elevate, everyone around them better. And again, he reminds me of somebody like a Brad Pitt, who through quietness and through stillness allows everything around him just to be that much more ratcheted up. And so completely brings us in and completely captivates us. And look, this film could have been excruciating. It could have been so over the top and so overblown. We've seen that happen so many times before. But given all of this, there's the cinematic restraint. Yes, it's a throwback. It feels very gritty, very much like a 70s film in the best way, being a period piece. But nonetheless, just in terms of the way that it's staged, the way that the performers interact, the way that everyone's lit, just the skin tones on screen. There's this beautiful bar scene. It's a tiny throwaway scene where the two of them meet and sort of have a handoff, and the way each face is lit in these different gels is a really phenomenal way. Look, it's no surprise that for the entire history of cinema, the capturing of African American faces on screen, or those of African descent on screen, has been a challenge. Celluloid was not designed in many ways to actually capture the subtlety and gradations of these skin tones. And even on digital, sometimes you are sort of stuck somewhere in between. There's some extraordinary examples of when people get it right. I think of Barry Jenkins's cinema, where you can take the medium in ways that are not traditionally done for those with fairer skin, using these colors and these shades to actually delineate not only expression, so you get all the crazy like the micro expressions that are taking place, but simply a way of initiating a person into the scene and making them feel very much part of the whole. So this is a film that's going to generate a lot of discussion, probably a lot of controversy for some. In some ways, it's not controversial enough, and in other ways, it's a pretty inviting way into a politics which itself, yes, has all kinds of moments which you would actually want to probably shy away from, and other things you would want to embrace. The actual story is obviously way more complicated than is presented here, but that doesn't necessarily matter, because this is a stepping stone. This is a way of reminding people about this narrative, of drawing people in. This doesn't replace the documentary or the reading or finding out about the actual events. This is a way of you actually engaging with what took place, you engaging with the events at the time, you engaging with a bunch of people that felt that they had no other choice, that they felt by banding together against what was clear a political and militarized police situation, which was absolutely untenable. Everything that has come to pass since is absolutely reflected in the same struggles they were making 5 decades ago. And at its best, that's what this film does. It invites us in. It allows us, through these characters, to experience their feelings, their views, their point of view. And if you wish to challenge any of them, you're at least having a discussion on their point their grounding in which they're doing it, and that's what makes it, I believe, an exceptional film. So please check it out. I think it showcases here early in 2021 a film that's absolutely a must see, with fantastic performances, and I fully expect many people to be thoroughly engaged with the cinematic telling. On a performance level, it's phenomenal. On a historical level, it's very inviting. It brings people in to actually have the discussion. And simply as an event, it's just so refreshing to see a film that treats its audience with a great deal of intelligence and treats its character with a great deal of emotional intelligence. For thatshelf.com, I'm Jason Gorber. Thanks so much for watching. Plenty of coverage here on our channel and on the website. Please support our many writers as we sit here trying to cover this crazy festival. Many videos below. Please subscribe. Please ring the bell, and we'll see you next time. All the best. Take care.